Why did the Canon 5D cameras reach such a high fame as they did? Let's have a look at that. I have three different versions of the Canon 5D. This is the old original, the first Mark I version you might call it, that I owned for a number of years, and I like the output of this camera. Although it's only 12 megapixels, I really adore the images that come from this camera, even JPEG straight out of the camera. But I'll be doing a sort of a comparison between the three different versions that I have. One of the other ones that I have right here is the 5D Mark III. That's the one I have maybe shot the most images using this camera. I don't know how many, but lots of images. And I'll be doing the review with a lens that very often came as a kit lens with exactly this version of the camera, the 24-105mm f4 LIS USM. That's an image stabilized lens, and it's a very good lens actually. For a zoom lens, it's a very good zoom lens. And the focal length is very usable. So I'll be doing the review of all the three cameras that I own with this lens. The third one that I own, I don't have it right here now, is the 5DSR, which is an awesome camera, but also a very demanding camera. It's a 50 megapixel full frame camera. But in this first video, I'll look into the 5D Classic, maybe make some comparisons to the newer versions or some links to the newer versions, but it is completely a review of the 5D Classic. The 5D Classic was one of the first full frame DSLR cameras that was made. I think there was one brand that made full frame DSLR, and that was Kodak or Nikon, in cooperation with Nikon. But otherwise, this is the first full frame DSLR camera. So here we have the beginning of what is so craved today. Everyone wants full frame, though they might not need it actually. But this was an awesome camera in my opinion, not only because it was first full frame, but because of the image quality that it delivered. 12 megapixels at that day was a lot, and I even think today that the image quality stands very well up to what you might need actually, because who needs the 100 megapixels that I actually have in my Hasselblad camera, for real? Yeah, sometimes. If you do large, big enlargements, like for expositions, stuff like that, it might be necessary. But or if you want to crop a lot into your images, it might be necessary. But otherwise, I think this image quality from this camera is quite awesome. So where does the three 5D cameras that I will be reviewing in this series belong in the Canon lineup of DSLRs? Well, I call them pro-level light cameras because they are professional cameras, just sitting just below the 1D series. But there's a lot of other DSLR cameras, and I have owned quite a lot. The ones marked with red is the ones that I have still, and the ones with blue is some that I have owned and have reviewed maybe earlier. So here's it. Another thing about this compared to the crop sensor cameras is that when you look through the viewfinder, you have a huge image, so it's very easy to compose and get your images sharp. Well, of course you could use autofocus, but exactly this lens, the 35mm f2 that I have on this camera, is dead on the autofocus, so I have to manually focus this camera, but or this lens. But it doesn't matter because I have such a huge viewfinder, and it's very easy to get my images sharp. And that's one of the big pros of full frame cameras in general. They have very large image in the viewfinder. Of course, when you go to mirrorless cameras, it's not depending on the image size because, on the sensor size, because that's an electronic viewfinder you have, and it doesn't matter if the one or the other sensor size. Being a professional camera, which I regard the 5D series as, it was at least used by a lot of professionals as their primary camera. Many use this series of cameras for weddings and stuff like that, is that they have this display on top, and it is sort of a thing that high-end cameras have. Here you have all the settings that you need to see, so you can actually, when you set the camera up, you're ready to shoot as soon as you take it to your eye. And that's a very good thing about this kind of camera. For the time that it was produced, it had a pretty large screen, LCD screen on the back. Of course, today we would like to see them much bigger and with higher resolution, of course. But for the day it was pretty good. And there's a lot of buttons on the camera, and that's a thing that the pros like a lot, because you have direct access to all the functions that you want to set during a shoot. So it's very easy and very fast to set dial in some settings. As this is an older camera, the only card format that was available at the time, well, SD cards were just coming out, but the CF cards were more reliable, so it's a CF card, compact flash card. You can still buy them today, and you can get them with very many gigabytes, but this one is just a small one, 4 gigabytes, just for testing the camera. If I shoot RAW, there's not so many images on this card, but I often shoot JPEG with this card, because, as I said very early, I like the JPEG output directly from this camera. It's very good. Another good thing about this camera is battery technology, because these batteries, though they're not very big, lasted a very long time in this camera. As it's not as electronic as a mirrorless camera of today, it doesn't use that much power. So I think I could shoot like 1,000 images or something like that with this camera before the battery died. I didn't use the back screen very much to look at the images. I just came from film photography, analog photography, and I believe that when I shot my images, they were all right. So I didn't look very much on the backs of the camera. That's one reason that the battery lasted so long, but that's really good. But now let's look at some images from this camera. As I think you understand from this video, I like this camera quite a lot. Some of the reasons are here. The many physical buttons, I like that a lot. I can set almost anything just using different buttons. The image quality is very good to my understanding, and the JPEG from the camera directly I like a lot. Also the top display that gives you the information that you need, so you don't need to go into menus to change a lot of the settings, is nice. And I think that for a full-frame DSLR camera, this is quite a compact size. That's also a nice thing. And once it was a very expensive camera, but today you can get it used for very cheap, and I find that it's a solid camera. It will last you a long time, maybe forever. Then of course there's not so much to dislike about this camera. The ISO settings are a bit limited, but that was normal at the age of this camera. The fixed LCD is the same. I don't find that a big hindrance. Of course modern camera would have a flippable LCD screen. I don't need fast frame rate, but some would regard 3 frames per second being a hindrance. And the lag of video is the same. I think I don't regard this camera as a video camera, and I don't need it. But of course, if it was there, it would be nice. So I hope you liked this short look at the Canon 5D Classic, the first Mark I version of this camera. And next time I'll be looking at the 5D Mark III version, and in that review I'll delve deeper into what this camera can do compared to this one, of course, also. But if you liked this video, please subscribe to my channel and also hit the like button. So thank you very much for this time.